I am thrilled to finally make this happen and to be here. I feel like it took us quite a effort to
It did.
finally record. So I'm so happy to be here. Thank you for having me today.
Yeah, we had some tech trouble getting on in the beginning, but I'm glad that it's all sorted out and we're able to really dive into this conversation because you've got such an incredible background that I'm excited for you to share with everybody. So,
Thank
do you
you.
mind doing the honors and letting everybody know a little bit about your background, who you are, and how you got to where you
Sure.
are now?
Sure. Okay, so I'm Deanna Mason. I am the creator of Refreshed Moms, which is a well, I feel like I have to tell the background to kind of tell you where we are today. But my focus right now, as in 2023, is to help moms, mom leaders, mom entrepreneurs, ministry leaders, homeschoolers, anyway, moms are showing up in leadership in multiple leadership roles, create and sustain a refreshing 24-hour Sabbath rest weekly ritual in order to sustain the work that they feel called and passionate to do. And that's not where I started. My background is in marketing, but just a little bit about my family. I have two children. I have a son who is 17 and be graduating from high school this year, and I have a daughter who is 15. She's in ninth grade. And we're a homeschool family, so they are here most of the time. They're not here today; they are at classes today. But we homeschool, and then I'm also a Bible teacher with some local Bible schools here in the Atlanta, Georgia area. And last but not least, I have a nonprofit organization called Needle Movers for Social Equity, where we are helping close equity gaps in education with students that may have some type of academic barrier due to um, barriers in language, barriers in um, inequities in the way the education is being produced right now, dealing with a lot of gaps that have been produced from the pandemic season. And we create support for those that work with students like tutors to help them close reading gaps. And that's my nonprofit side of my work. All right, so that's kind of a little background of what I'm currently doing right now. My story, Refresh Moms, actually started out as a marketing consulting organization or business. Marketing is my background. I've been a marketer since basically graduation. That was my focus when I was in college. And in some kind of way, I've worked in marketing, either with a corporation or through my own efforts with contracting and freelancing for most of my adult life. And Refresh Mom started as a way to present a marketing approach for mom entrepreneurs, moms like me that had little kids playing Legos under their desk while they were trying to work. And now it's trying to have a Zoom call while you're nursing. You know, this is what it looks like now. But back when I was doing it before Zoom meetings were even popular, it was, you know, you're in an office or you're in a room in your house and your kids, I was a homeschool mom and my kids are playing around me as I try to run a nonprofit and do marketing consulting at the same time. And um, Refresh Moms was built to create a marketing approach that allowed moms to build a business in a more refreshing way, because a lot of the voices out there, and we've just evolved so much. It's so wonderful to see work like the work that you put out in the world. There's so many other moms now that have realized we can't necessarily do it the way some of our industry gurus have taught us over the past decade or past 15 years, realizing that many of them were teaching practices and approaches to building business that were conducive to someone that didn't have kids in the home or weren't the primary caretaker for their children. So I see that trend multiplying over and over and over again, and it makes me so happy because that's exactly what I started Refresh Moms to do, was to give moms an option of a business building that may take them a little slower, may not move as fast as some of these other businesses were promoting as far as, you know, building revenue and income, but allowed them to build with a strong foundation, with clarity in messaging, clarity in offers, as well as make room for the other priorities in their life, like raising their babies. So that's kind of who Refresh Moms is. What we started as, we've now evolved into just focusing way more on the parts of their life that need to be refreshed in order to sustain that work. That's where I get really excited about working with moms. That came because so many women that I consulted would run out of steam in the midst of whatever it was that we were building. So they may be building a funnel, or building an email marketing strategy, or they may or building content strategy, and rolling those things out and trying to maintain those things in order to convert in sales. And they would most of them eventually got to the point where they were like, I just got to take a break. I have to step back from this. And I'm like, it's because they may have had very strong marketing strategy, but they necessarily didn't have the rest practices in place to sustain what they were building. So I'm like, I think I need to focus a lot heavier on helping them create sustainable rest approaches to their leadership across the board, not just their work, but many of them were homeschool moms, many of them were ministry leaders, many of them were leading in other capacities outside of business building, and without the habits of rest around what they felt called to in leadership, there was no way they were going to stay the course. So that's kind of where I focus my work on today.
I love it. And so needed. Like you said, there's so many people talking all about like ways to build your business that, like you said, are not aligned with us moms that have young kids in particular, and they're under the desk and climbing all over, and you're trying to nurse while you're on a coaching call or a Zoom meeting or something. So I'm so glad that you're doing this work. So can you tell everybody a little bit about, like, I know you have 6 key elements that are really needed to build a refreshing business that you love. So can you talk a little bit about that?
Sure. Let me pull up my notes because these are not really sharp in my memory right now. I just finished a whole year of Bible school, and this is like literally one of my very first business activities in January. So I'm like, let me refresh my memory on what I teach about refreshing businesses that you love. I have a faith-based approach to the work that I do. So much of what I teach with my women comes from a heart of wanting to be obedient to what we believe God has called us to do in regards to our work. And I have 6 things that I talk about in creating a refreshing business that you love. But the first one starts with, what has God asked you to do? That's really the first place that I have my people begin, because I remember when I first got started with my work with Refresh Moms, when you're new to business, you're kind of figuring out what and how your people are going to respond to your expertise and your content. And back then, back in 2017, I was being coached to follow what my people were saying they wanted from me. And so I grew a lot of my business on Instagram back then. This was before Instagram algorithms were where they are today, where images literally were driving the algorithm. I just was able to cultivate a thriving business coaching practice just using that social platform. And so that's not what my expertise was, but that's what I used to leverage my expertise, like bringing people into what I actually was really good at. But my audience kept wanting to know how I was being successful on Instagram. And so I created an Instagram course to teach people how to be successful on Instagram. And that became what people wanted to come to me for. And I remember when I got to the point when I remember being on a call with a friend who knew my work, knew my background, knew the things I was passionate about. And I was working on some addition or something to this Instagram course. And she looked at me. She was like, Deanna, why are you teaching Instagram? And I was like, well, my people are asking me for Instagram stuff. She's like, that is not what you do. That is not what excites you. Because I didn't even want to create it. But I was like, oh, now I got to create this whole thing because Instagram has rolled out this new feature. And now I got to teach how to leverage that one and use it. And I was not happy about it. And she was like, why are you teaching Instagram, Deanna? And I'm like, that was like the first wake up call. Like, you don't have to do this. Just because
they want it, it's not aligned with you.
There's so many other people teaching Instagram strategy that are way more better than you. That is not what you do. And it made me sit and get back in touch with what really lights me up? What do I feel called to as far as my work? What would I be proud to leave a legacy around? And I take that back to my prayer time with God. It's like, what you're the one that I believe has given me the gifts here for the entrepreneurship and the things that I'm able to help people with. What do you want me to create? What do you want me to do? I find myself even in that season right now as I enter back into my work after taking a sabbatical from it to go to school. And I'm like, what does my work look like now? What is it that you actually want me to do? Instead of the things that I know to do, can I sit those to the side and get in touch with what are you asking me to do, and trust that what you're asking me to do is enough. I don't have to do all the things, tips and tricks and strategies that my marketing brain may know. Just do the thing that he's asking you and trust that that is enough. So that's kind of where I would start you. Just start with God. Start with asking him, this is what I could do. This is what I want to do even, but what would you have me to do? So that's kind of step one. I don't know if you want me to keep going or if you want to stop and talk about that one. Let me know what you
Yeah,
want to do.
I mean, I think that's really, really amazing that you're telling everybody just to start with God and just what does he want you to do? And that's really what you should be doing because that's what he has in mind for your future and for your life. And one way or another, he's going to make sure that you do that thing. So you might as well
Yeah.
start now.
Yeah. Yeah. You're gonna be better off. Oh, and I think I'm gonna have to get up and plug my computer in because I'm getting a low battery, but you're gonna be better off and more happier. I'm not saying you're gonna be more profitable. I need you to hear this. It's not, those two are not necessarily tied together, but you're gonna be much more happier doing the work that you feel God has aligned for your life. So I'm gonna get up. I'm gonna let you talk to your audience. I'm gonna get my plug because I don't want this to shut off. I'll be right back.
Awesome. Awesome. Everybody, I'm so glad that Deanna is talking all about this because it's really important that you're doing things that are truly aligned with you and what God has in store for you. She's bringing up so many good points, and I'm excited to see what else she has to offer as far as the 6 elements that you need to start your successful business. So, Deanna, are we good? Are you plugged
Yeah,
in?
I'm
Awesome.
plugged in. Let's go. Number 2. Okay, so once you have that settled, and don't be afraid to iterate from that, just start with what you believe is in your heart. The next thing I talk about is, okay, so now that you understand what it is you're going to do, and I'm 100% confident that it has something to do with serving people, something to do with helping people problem solve, you have to become the expert in solving that problem for your person. So understand what it is you do and how you're going to serve, and learn how to solve the problem for your people. Now, when you're learning to solve a problem for the people that feel called to serve or drawn to serve, it really is less about what you think they need and way more about what they're actually saying they need help with. Okay, so for example, I know I'm an expert. I can't say that I'm an expert in rest. I'm growing in my expertise as a rest consultant, growing in my expertise with Sabbath rest and helping people create these rhythms of 24-hour rest in their week. With me knowing that's what I teach, I still have to find out, how are my people struggling with this? How are they expressing their need to create this in their life? And you'll be so surprised at the answers that they give that still fall in line with how you want to serve them, but the ways they are expressing the problems they're having become really specific to that group of people. So I work with moms and I work with leaders, even to the point where like with my group, some of the things that I think about with helping them problem solve had to do with how the content was even given to them. So I was making video content, and so many of them were in a season of audio content. I just need to be able to listen to it while I'm folding laundry or nursing or whatever. Not everything, I can't access everything with video. If I could listen to the 20-minute Bible study while I'm cooking, I feel like I have connected with God, which is a whole nother area that I undercover. They feel like the time they are spending with God doesn't count because it's 5 minutes here or it's 10 minutes there. In helping them understand that 5 minutes with God and 10 minutes with God matters and that He shows up in those short periods of time. But they started telling me where their problems were, and I took those problems and aligned them with how to rest in what I teach about rest. So if they're telling me I want to rest, but they're also telling me that I want to use this video or listen to this course or listen to this teaching that you have on rest, but Deanna, I'm not going to watch it. I'm not solving their problem. Even though the content could be amazing and it could change their life, but they're like, I just know I'm not going to be consistent with consuming it if it's on video. And just learning how to, and that's not true for everybody. I have other areas in my, with friends and my other peers in my industry that serve content up completely differently because that's what and how their people respond. So anyway, that's just a small part of just understanding how to problem solve for your people in order to get them the transformations that they need. So
Oh,
that's
that's
number
a
two.
good one. That's a really good one because there's no point in putting all this content out if they're not going to watch it in the way that
Yeah.
they absorb content.
Yeah. And that goes through all the ways you're trying to serve them. Just learning, like if no one's clicking on an email and you're sending emails, I'm not saying don't send emails, but it's like it's not serving anybody if no one's actually opening what you're trying to give them to help
Mhm.
them. And it just keeps going further and further. Okay, they are opening their emails, but they're not necessarily clicking on my invitations to partake or to purchase or whatever those are. And you just have to just keep peeling back that onion. It's like either I'm not communicating how I solve my problem well, or the way I'm solving the problem is not palatable or maybe even accessible um, to my audience. I have a background in teaching inductive Bible study, which goes really, really deep in Bible study with historical background and context on the author and the original reader. And that's how I can go through a study of a book of the Bible or any portion of the Bible. And the average person doesn't have the capacity in their day to walk through that type of study. So if I created that and built that out, here's an inductive study on the book of Matthew or whatever, or on the topic of prayer, whatever it is. And my lessons are 40 minutes long, even though they're audio. And there's worksheets to fill out, and there's all these, and my audience can't do that. They're not in a season where they can do that. And so FOMO for my audience would keep them from consuming. I'm not even going to start it because if I can't consume it or finish it, I'm going to feel like I failed. So I'm just not going to start it. And so I've had to learn, Deanna, yeah, you can talk for an hour. My podcast probably shows y'all I can talk for an hour. You can talk for an hour, but I don't have an hour to consume what you're dishing out. So I've had to learn, how do I take the 10 minutes that they have and make it effective, make it mean something to them, get them connected to God in the time that they have. So anyway, knowing how to serve your people and problem solve is my second one. I will go ahead and go to the third option, which is packaging and pricing offers, which I've already kind of alluded to. The way you package your offer should speak to how your consumer needs it. Something that I learned it a few years ago while I was at a retreat, and it changed my life. This is something that's not new to anyone that's an entrepreneur, probably listening or watching this. You guys have heard this before, but the key vital importance of a framework, of having a framework of how you take people from problem to solution. It's something that's probably unique to your way of solving the problem, and understanding how you take them step by step whether it's a cyclical approach or a pyramid approach, or, do this and then do this and then do this, or maybe it's something that all the pieces go together in order to accomplish the final transformation. Maybe they are individual transformations that could live on their own. I don't know. But if you understand how your person comes to you with whatever problem you say you solve, and you say, if you do these things with me, you are going to solve a problem. You're going to solve this problem. That goes a long way. And your framework can literally be packaged in a gazillion ways when you understand problem to solution. That's where you get a free to paid journey. You can back up a complete solution into smaller pieces. So this is where they would start. Like, for example, one place that people start with me is my free course, Make a Rest Plan. That's like an opt-in I've had for like 2 years. Like, make a rest plan. You're going to start here. And within that course, they take a rest needs quiz so they know exactly where their rest deficits are. And they then watch a video on that type of rest that they're showing that they have a deficit on. And, it's just like a starting place. And then there's a prayer that you can pray about rest. There's a daily scripture writing plan that gets you started on studying what God says about rest. Just these little starting things that this is how you can get started in your rest journey. And I know that is like, just understanding your need for rest is where I want people to start with me. If you say, hey, I think I need this, learn a little bit about what rest actually is. It's so much more than sleep. There's so many different ways that a human being enjoys rest and refreshes himself. I want you to learn these foundational things, because once they learn those foundational things, they can journey with me further in the other things that I offer. And it takes them all the way to like what I used to. I don't do it anymore. It would take them all the way to like my high-end offer, if you want to call it a high-end offer, would be I will be your rest consultant for 90 days. That I will restructure your business in a way that it actually feels more refreshing, and will also going to work on developing the rest rituals that you need to sustain what you're building, right? But all of those connect. But my framework takes them through all of those steps, right? Understanding how to package your framework and also how to price it is very vital in that feeling refreshing to you. Now, I do want to say this little thing about pricing, because this is out in our industry a lot, price what you're worth, price your value, and things like that. I'm not saying don't do that. I am saying price what you can market and feel good about. I am saying that, because if you have to sell it, you got to be confident about selling it. One thing that I've realized that I just can't do, at least not right now, is sell my Bible studies. I don't feel good about selling my Bible studies. It doesn't feel good to put a price tag on a Bible study, because I'm like, no, everybody should be able to study the Bible for free.
I love that.
It just doesn't feel good. And so I have a whole bunch of people in my ear telling me, well, Deanna, hundreds of people sell their Bible studies. They do. I'm telling you right now, if I had to put marketing strategy behind it, it would feel icky to me, because I don't want to make money teaching people how to study the Bible. That's not how I want to make money. That doesn't feel good to me. But I feel so passionate about teaching people biblical literacy. But I don't have to put a price tag on that which goes back to number one, what is God asking of you? And I know that He has equipped me to teach the Bible. I don't feel it necessary to price a Bible study, but I can still market it. I can still get people in it. And there's other strategies if I ever wanted to try to convert financially. There's tons of other things I could do. But what I'm not about to do is sell a Bible study with the thing in my mind saying, I wonder how I can get money out of this. I can't do that and feel good. I just can't. So it's really important that whatever you price your offer at, that I don't care about this language, which there's some truth to it, but the language in our industry just tells you to get past that barrier that has you scared to price at a certain point. Some things need to be priced at a certain point. All right. Especially when you're talking about trading time for money, like coaches out there and consultants. You will hate your business if you're not fairly compensated for giving up your time. I'm just letting you know right now. I've just done this too long and worked with too many coaches and consultants to know that if it's not priced fairly and matches the value that is being offered, you will hate your practice. Okay. So I will say that, but I'm also saying don't feel like you have to price your offers a certain way because the industry tells you this is what you need to do. Because you are the one that has to go behind it and market it and sell it confidently. And it needs to be at a price point that you're able to do that. Okay, so that's all I'm gonna say about that. Do you have what do you want to add to that?
I think that's so good. And if it doesn't feel good and aligned with what you're serving and what your intended purpose is, then like you said, it's just gonna feel icky. Like you don't want to do it. You're gonna resent showing up that way. You're gonna feel
Mm-hmm.
not in alignment with what you're serving. Um,
Yeah.
and to your point, like there's a million ways that you can make money off of something. It's like if you're showing up in this way for your Bible study and serving these women, they're gonna feel naturally inclined to want to work with you for anything else that you have to offer. It's
Mm-hmm.
just serving is gonna be
Yeah.
the underlying theme of whatever you're doing.
Yeah. There's just and it goes to me just trusting God to be the God that sees and provides for me. I really trust that he does that and I don't have to manipulate
Mm-hmm.
the situation in order to convert financially. That's just where my belief is right now. All right. My number four, let's talk about messaging. Oh, and pricing and packaging in a way that feels aligned has everything to do with this feeling refreshed for you. Everything. Everything. They're so important. They're so important. Now, once you have those things in place, this is kind of where, like, if I were to create a business course right now, this is where I would create a course because this is where people are getting hung up. And I don't care if it's a free thing or a paid thing. The fourth thing that will make your business feel refreshing is having excellent messaging. It doesn't have to be perfect, but it needs to be good. And good is relative to whoever it is you're trying to communicate to. This is where people get hung up. Everybody I work with is very, very good at what they want to get paid to do. All right. That is not what is that. Well, for most people, they're bringing their expertise to to their business and saying, this is what I'm good at. And just because you're good at, I'm just trying to pick something. I'm trying to think what my people like, just because you're a good sleep consultant doesn't mean you're a good marketer. They don't
Mm-hmm.
go together. Most people aren't. All right. Most people just don't naturally have it in them to be a business, um, to run a business, I should say. In marketing, when it comes to, trying to convert sales, is like 90% a part of it, maybe a little lower, maybe I'll give it 75. 75% part of it is your ability to market. And so much of marketing is just being able to clearly articulate the thing that you help people with and how you solve the problem. And we don't know how to do it because we spend a lot of time in our heads thinking we're communicating clearly and we're not. I see it over and over again. I'm a consultant and coach with an organization called Boss Moms with Deanna Mason. You guys may know that she's got a huge Facebook group that's pushing like 100,000 people. It's ridiculously huge. And then she has her own private community for her nurture system. And I am a paid consultant in that space. Nobody comes with messaging clarity. Nobody. I mean, zero. And when we see hints of it, we're excited. Like if somebody comes and they're working through it and they start posting their work in the space and we're like, oh man, this is really good. We get really excited because we know we're about to go fast as far as getting that person to the point of having their nurture system set up. But man, oh man, we try our hardest not to get hung up in that messaging part because we literally could journey with someone for weeks just on that. And we're like, this person ain't gonna never get to selling if we stay here. We've got to move past this. We got to get to a good enough and let them start testing things out and tweaking along the way. But I'm telling you, the clearer your message is, the faster people answer questions for themselves and make a purchasing decision. And the only thing I can say in regards to creating messaging, I literally like think about if I ever wanted to dip my toe into selling a business product outside of like consulting private clients, I would create something on messaging, because most of us really suck at it. And it's like you don't understand why people aren't buying your wonderful, wonderful course or your wonderful, wonderful thing. Once somebody gets into your thing, they're gonna love you. You're a hidden gem. We all know that. But if you cannot clearly connect with them about what they're hurting about, or what they're dreaming about, or what they're wanting for their life, and show them that you understand how to get them there in a clear way, you're going on, it's an uphill battle to sell. You're going to get a few people that spend enough time with you that get convinced maybe, and they'll purchase, but you're going to struggle with getting the amount of work that you want when your messaging isn't clear. So that, to me, when somebody has very clear, and I've seen it over and over again, like people that I've been affiliates with, I don't really do affiliate partnerships if I don't see, at least it's my rule of thumb, God could interrupt this plan or this thought process, and he's welcome to do it. But normally when I choose affiliate partners, of course, it has to be something that I feel like my people will benefit from. But if I have traveled through their back end and travel through like look at their sales pages, and I'm like, this person has it figured out with how to talk to my people about this problem. This is not going to be hard for me to partner with them, because they understand like I have a friend who's her business called Motherhood Simplified, and she deals with decluttering and organization. She's been doing it for years. She's really good at it, has an amazing course, has amazing courses, and her messaging is figured out. She knows exactly what moms like us with small kids in the house are struggling with, not just with our clutter, but with the things that are going on in our heads and I'm like, it's all I got to do is get somebody in her free thing, and I know she's going to take care of them, because she knows how to talk. That's what messaging can do for you. When somebody sees, no, you really can talk really clearly with your people, you become very attractive to other people that think you can serve their people. So messaging is just really important. It'll change the game with your business and completely make it feel more refreshing.
So good. So what's your next one?
Marketing. And I've kind of alluded to this. Everybody needs to develop a marketing skill set in some way, shape, or form. If you're going to be in business and you're wanting to convert, even if you don't have an evergreen product, or let's say you're like, Deanna, I only need 5 consulting clients a year to sustain, my home or whatever it is. You still have a level of marketing that you have to get really good at, even if it's just word of mouth marketing, even if it's not, all this content strategy and things like that. There's a way that you have to journey to onboarding a client, offboarding a client, and bringing in new clients. You just have to have some type of marketing figured out. Most of us look at social media and think, all I got to do is post on social media. And I know that is not all you have to do.
No.
It's not all you have to do. There's a whole lot that needs to be done before you even feel like testing the waters with leveraging content on social media in desires of conversions. Like, you can play around on social media all you want, it's fine. But if you're like, no, I actually want to get people opted in to my free thing, or I actually want to, which is where this is where I tell people I will advise you to start with a free thing. If you're new to business, don't try to sell something. But in order to convert financially with a free thing, there's things that need to be set up that present your paid thing on the back end. Okay. Which is a whole nother conversation. But I am saying you have to learn your marketing. And I also am going to say that you're going to consistently be learning your marketing. Marketing strategies shift and change as the marketing landscape shifts and changes. Principles don't change, like framework, messaging, those things will always be there. But email marketing changes when your CRM changes, social media market changes when their algorithm changes. You're going to have to continue to hone in your marketing skill set for the long run if you're going to be in business, whether it's a robust marketing approach or something small that just is a word of mouth approach. Whatever it is, have an approach and work with a marketer. Just work with a professional marketer in some kind of way, even if it's like through their course materials. Just find somebody that knows what they're doing in marketing and learn from them.
Amen.
And then something else I will say, when you find them, stick with them for a minute. You don't need a whole bunch of people. Stick with them for a minute and see if you can get their approach to work. All right. When you start combining several approaches, you're going to get confused and you're going to lose inspiration. You're going to get confused. So like, it's like adopt a strategy for a period of time. Work with that person that you've chosen to work with to figure it out. Okay. But it's really important that you work with someone that you believe knows marketing. Okay. It's just really important. So anyway, marketing, you're not going to get away from it. I know it's not fun for most people. I geek out on marketing, but I literally went to get educated on marketing. I like it. Most people don't like it because it's so closely connected to sales, and people just have aversions to selling and asking people for money. But you're not going to sell anything if you don't figure out how to create a marketing approach that feels really good to you.
Amen.
That's number 5.
That was like the one thing I got right. Like starting my business right off the gate is I immediately hired somebody to help me with my marketing and get everything dialed in as far as my brand, my messaging, all of it, so that that could be the foundation that I would use to grow. And I really recommend that everybody does the same thing, so that they're on that first like strong standing leg.
When we were introduced, your assistant contacted me for something that you were putting together. And I didn't qualify for that thing. But when she told me what you were doing, I was like, I immediately saw, okay, this is a strategy she's putting together to do some list building. And it's like, I get it. It's like, I completely get it. I can't help you with that. I don't have a huge list, right? But it's like, I understood. I was like, no, this is a strategy that she's putting together. And it's like, once you decide, go all in with the strategy and make it work. Just make it work, tweak it. Don't give up on it just because it didn't or it may not produce, which most of them don't produce the way that we want them to produce the first time we try it.
Yeah.
But you get some results. And now the next thing is, okay, tweak it. What could we do better? What can we add to it? What could we change? What could we make clearer? What links didn't work? What emails didn't open up? Those, you just go in and you make changes and you do it again until it becomes something that you can count on in regards to your conversions. Okay. All right. Then the last one, I sandwiched my faith stuff. Like I start with the faith things and I end with the faith things. So my last one is something that I refer to as being a divine business builder. And when I say divine, it's completely connected with those that share my faith in Christ. There's an element of divine business building where everything I just taught goes out the window. It's like, I love learning about marketing. I love strategy. I love tweaking things. I love being on the back end of things to see how things are converting. I love gathering that information, especially for email marketing. That's kind of like where I cut my teeth. And there's a portion of that could drive my activity if I don't watch it. Like I could think I didn't accomplish what I wanted to accomplish based off of my analytics. Or I could be driven, or my work can be driven by a financial goal that I'm trying to reach. I'm not poo-pooing on any of those things. But what I have found is that there are several things that God has asked of me that I should say I feel like God has led me, because I don't want to sound like too woo-woo spooky. God has asked of me. I feel I've been led in certain directions that had way more to do with how he wanted to interact with the person, and a lot less to do with my bottom line and what this would mean financially for my family. And I would much rather be in that position than know that's what he's asking of me, ignore it because I have a goal that I'm trying to reach. With divine business building, you trade where your business citizenship is. It's like I'm a business builder as a citizen of the kingdom of God. Therefore, I know I have to approach this with the principles that I know of the kingdom of God. And so much of that has us giving and serving in ways that don't promise return. And there is a tension there between, well, my family needs provision, or I need to make money in order to live, or, whatever those things are. There's a tension between the need to make money. And there's a whole nother thing for this desire for great wealth. I can teach a whole series on a Christian's contentment versus the world's desire for wealth. I could. That's not what we're going to do here. But there's I don't remember where I was. I feel like I'm about to switch a point because I don't remember where I left off when I interrupt with that little rabbit trail nugget. But there is an element of divine business building where we switch to where provision actually comes from. We no longer believe that we are provided for by the work of our hands, even though God can use the work of our hands to provide for us. We have to understand that if it wasn't for the breath that he put in us to work, we would not be provided for. He is the God that sees and provides. And it doesn't matter what area of your life, you can't pick and choose the boxes of which you're going to insert God into when he is truly the Lord of your life. And he wants to be Lord over your business. There's a reason why he is called entrepreneurship is so similar and so almost I'm going to use parallel to even the gift of apostleship, of just these visions of growing and starting things in order for people to be cared for. That is a gift to be able to do that. And I just believe that is my responsibility to give that back to him. So use this the way that you desire, to allow my selfish ambitions to take a back seat. You can still bring your desires before him. You can still say, I would love to take, like, one of my things. I want to take my family to St. Helen this fall. And I already have like the beach house picked out, and, and it's not a cheap trip, but it's like, I want to do it. Will you allow me to do it? And it's like, I journey with him through those desires, and I'm willing to obey no matter which way it goes. Right. But I bring them to him. I have a desire to do this for a vacation for my family, or I have a desire for this thing for my child. He so cares about those things, but you've got to believe that he can care for you way better than your attempts to care for yourself can care for you. And that's just I think it takes a moment to develop those distinctions when you're talking about business building. We don't really live in a culture where that is necessarily even taught. It's definitely not celebrated. You're definitely going to be the unicorn in the room, in regards to that. Those conversations are probably only being held in spaces where your faith is being shared. And even then, it's not always a conversation that's being held. I'm in several Christian spaces where there's a race to million. Okay. race to the million. I'm not, and look, I'm not poo-pooing on anybody's goals. Please hear what I'm saying. But I can't, for me personally, I cannot let that be my motivation, because I will lose sight on how God wants me to help people if getting to that $1 million mark at the end of the year, unless inspired by him, was my focus. Okay. So anyway, that's just, it's like, there's a lot of marketing that can be taught in between those, starting with God, committing to divine business building. In between, there is a lot to learn about marketing and sharpening your skill set. I think they're worth, I think they have worth. I think they're valuable, but they all just need to be brought back to, or sandwiched in between those two things. And that's it.
Amen. Thank you for all of that insightful information. So for women that are just starting their business, especially when they have these young kids, and we know that we're going to encounter some, crap. I couldn't
Mhm.
say that. What do you have to say to them, like, when they just feel like giving up and, like, things aren't working out, that it seems like God's plan is taking too long, or whatever is going
Mhm.
to be happening? What do you tell them?
Hmm. Um, I want to tell you to be mindful of your season. I don't think there's enough language. I think so much of our language to moms is about the pushing through and, to keep going. And I do think there's seasons where that needs to be what is being heard. I'm in a season right now where we have some health challenges in my family, which it's become evident that I can't, like, with me returning to work in January after being in school last year, I tried to return to what was a normal work habit. And it was blaringly obvious that I couldn't, because of what my child needed and what my husband needed in order to serve his father. And so I'm like, these things are not going to live in the same space. And what I'm not going to do is try to cram it in, because that's what I used to do. So I had to, and I'm still in the space of, well, what gets touched and what doesn't. And that's the season of life that I'm in, because prioritizing my family and their needs, at least definitely the way that they're showing up right now, is vitally important. Um, I'm in a situation, so there's caveats here. I'm in a situation where I'm married and my husband's income provides basically what our home needs. So I'm not in a position where I have to make this decision thinking we're not going to have what we need materially. But I also I'm in a place where my income does provide for some of the other things, like tuition to programs and, things that are not necessary for us to live, but are desired for the things that we desire for our children or for our home, right? Like, we need a new car. My son is driving a car. This was my husband's old car, and like the horn stopped working last week, and it's like, this car's on his last leg, and Deanna is no longer making the income she was before school. We got to figure out what the plan, so we still have things. So please hear this, but I'm not in a situation where my lights are going to be turned off, or we're not going to, so I get that. I understand that my income is not needed for us to eat and for us to be safe. All right. But even if it was, I have to know that God will continue to be my provider, even if it comes in a different way or a different avenue. I have a list here. So last year I stopped work, and trust me, we felt that transition financially. I hope I can find this list fast. So there were days where, as we transitioned back and forth, or which transitioned into my season of not making money, I froze. Can you see me
I,
still?
I
There.
think
Okay.
it's recording on your own side, so it's okay.
Okay. Um, there was still a time where there were days where we're at the end of the grocery budget, but we got 4 more days. We got 4 more days to feed people, but we don't have grocery money. And so it was a tough season as far as um, learning to live with less. And I started to create a list of the ways God was providing in order for me to see that provision doesn't necessarily come through a paycheck. And here's what I'm going to read just some of them because it's a long list. I mean, it's a long list. My entire school experience, which was about $9,000, was paid for. I to this day don't know who paid for it, but somebody believed in me going to school and they paid all my tuition. Some secret person. My husband got a raise. There was a bill that was passed in our state by our governor that issued a state refund that my husband was able to receive because he works for the state. We went to the grocery store and my husband was trying to buy a corsage for my son's prom and a box of veggie burger patties. He gets to the register and the things won't ring up at the right price. And the person at the grocery store said, just take it. My kids' camp was paid for that. I wanted them to go to summer camp. So these are like some of the extra things that my income would have normally paid for. I wanted them to be able to experience summer camp. It was a away camp and 100% of their camp was paid for. Somebody granted me a $5,000 business certification. Just told me I can come get it for free. We went to have an oil change. My husband waited too long for the oil change, and oil changes at that time were like $100 because gasoline prices had skyrocketed. He went to get an oil change. They felt he waited too long. He was at a Nissan dealership. They decided, no, you waited too long for that oil change. He was there for about 2 hours and said, just, it's on us today. Somebody, one of the first week where we ran out of grocery money, I was praying to God. I was like, I know you're going to care for us. I don't know where we're getting food. I didn't share this with anybody. It was just me in my house by myself. And I had a friend who never texted me before, but a friend that said, hey, I'm going to Costco. Can I do some shopping for you?
God is amazing.
So many different ways. Somebody sent me $500 for and they Venmoed me $500 and say, use this for your children's homeschool curriculum. It were just so many different ways that he provided without me asking. It wasn't even like I was out there asking for it, but I just said, I'm going to start making a list because if I ever doubt that you are a provider, I want to be able to go back to this list. So I say this
that's
to
powerful.
say, yeah,
Yes.
he is the provider for our lives. He can leverage your business to be a vehicle of provision, but it is not what provides for you. So that's what I would say. If you're in this season, be mindful of your season. Be okay to go slower than what maybe you desired. And you trust that you have a lifetime to build what's in your heart. Okay? That's what I would say.
That's a perfect place to end because that was like chilling. Like you get chills like when you hear that kind of stuff. And I
Mm-hmm.
think that everybody needs to start a book like that or a note in your phone or something. I started what I call like a brag book, and it lists
Mm,
everything that like clients that I booked, like different things just to give me confidence to know that God
yeah.
is bringing different things into my life and
Yeah.
in a variety of ways. But I love that too, and I'm going to start that so that I make sure that I'm really feeling that confidence every time that I feel like I'm doubting to know that
Yeah.
He's always providing.
Yeah. So awesome.
Can you share with everybody where they can find you and, your podcast, like all these things?
Sure. So my podcast is called Refresh Moms Podcast. We've not been publishing since last summer, but I am coming back in the month. I think I'm shooting for the month of March to restart it. So podcasts are being planned, interviews are being scheduled. We are actually coming back either at the end of February or March. So, but you can find me still on Spotify platform, Spotify, Apple, anywhere that you're probably listening to podcasts. You can find the Refresh Moms podcast. My Instagram handle is Refresh Moms, so come play with me. I'm just playing around over there right now, but come play with me at Refresh Moms on Instagram. And I do have a free course that I mentioned if you're interested in starting to create rest practices for your life. That's the place to start. Making a rest plan. Refreshmoms.com/make a rest plan is where you can go to grab that course.
Amazing. Thank you for being on this episode, Deanna. This has been truly a pleasure to connect with you and to hear all of your insights, especially as people are trying to build their business or plan their business or just keep going when they feel like they're struggling. So we appreciate you sharing all of your wisdom.
Thank you for having me.